and teams like that are on the down. So Rutgers, I think, would fit well in the conference. Um, I agree with you. I got to catch that. I got to listen to you say that on that show, and I agree with you. I think the reason that I think UMass and UConn both left the conference is because they knew they couldn't compete. They were
Yeah,
over their,
exactly.
over their heads. They went independent because now they don't have to play against, the Memphises, the UCFs, or the conferences that are the strong teams of the AAC. Now you get to play, not that Notre Dame's any easier to play, but I mean, you get to play like Air Force, and you get to play some of the, and Navy's not a easy team to beat, since obviously they crushed Army last week in the
Yeah,
Army
I know,
Navy.
I know.
Now they're going to a major bowl game, and they could win 11 games. But I mean that's a different story too. But yeah, I mean after a while, I think these teams have got to step back and say, okay, enough is enough. We're tired of getting beat up and down the field, and the fact is that we need to change, make a change in the conference. So I would not be surprised, Lewis, in the next few, if not next year or 2 years down the road, if they don't say, hey, guys, that's enough. We just can't compete in the Big Ten anymore. Because, again, it's hard to beat Michigan and Ohio State, and it's hard to beat Michigan State and all
Even
those teams.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. I mean, it's hard. It's hard, and then those teams are only getting better. If you think about it, those teams are only getting better. And every year,
And we're getting worse.
yes, every year Ohio State gets better recruits. Michigan gets better recruits. Minnesota's now the surprising team. Iowa's been a team that's been kind of one of those, thorn in the side type teams that could win a game here or there. So yeah, it's coming to the point where now Rutgers is the team that is the low end of the totem pole when it comes to college football. So yeah, that's not that I would not be surprised if that doesn't change here very soon.
He
I
who
mean, I
plays
would
like a turd and acts like a turd is probably a turd.
correct.
By the way, you
Absolutely.
left out one of another passing that happened this past week.
Mm-hmm.
The Iowa coach, Hayden Fry.
Oh yes, legendary. Yes, Hayden Fry.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that as well. Yeah,
And was actually the inspiration for a TV series called Coach.
I did not know that. I watched that
Yes.
show as
Well,
a
don't
kid.
forget his name was Hayden, but he went by the character name Hayden Fox.
Correct.
Yes. So there is kind of like a little autobiographical there.
And you remember Craig T. Nelson in what was the movie that he played a high school coach with Tom Cruise? It was a college. What the
Yeah.
heck movie? I'm trying to remember what football movie that was, but Craig T. Nelson was the high school football coach who took the job at college and then signed Tom Cruise to a scholarship. And I can't remember the damn movie. All right, it'll come to me. But
Yeah. I think I know what you mean though.
I did not know. I did not know that TV series was based off of him. Wow, I did not know that. That's
It was
pretty.
the inspiration. He was the inspiration for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can say based on, but it was he was the inspiration for it.
Okay. Well, I mean, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, what he did for Iowa, and like I said, Iowa, in the Big Ten has been one of those teams that seems to be a thorn in the side of a lot of the big teams. Like they've beat Michigan a couple times. They've been head to head with Ohio State a couple times. So it's not like they are they're a pushover by any means of the imagination anymore. So, and unfortunately, will Greg Schiano do anything at Rutgers? It's a possibility. It's going to take him a
Not
while.
right away. I mean,
Yeah.
I still think this is like They're like a good 5 to 7 years, away of doing anything, unless they move to the AAC quicker.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Yeah,
it's going to be a long, difficult process.
Yep. I agree with you. I agree because they're going to be right where they are now. They're going to
Can you say nausea?
They're going to be getting slaughtered. You're not going to be able to recruit kids from the Big Ten or in the in the states up there, the Ohio's, the Michigans, stuff like that. You may get some of the kids out of the Northeast, in your neck of the woods and stuff like that. But I mean, it's not going to be easy to sell then, you have a shot at going to, say, Michigan or an Iowa, but I'm going to get you to come here. Well, we haven't won anything in a while, so are you sure you want to, as a kid, are you sure you want to absolutely take that risk of coming to Rutgers and say, okay, let me go here, and I'm going to get murdered and killed by these teams that are superior to us? So, yeah. I did happen to, like I said, catch that conversation on that show. I wanted to bring that up, that I agree with you, the AAC move. And I didn't know this until this year that Wichita State is actually in the AAC for basketball. Their football program folded in the early 90s and is no longer, the Shockers don't have a football team anymore. But their basketball team is in the AAC. So, Rutgers would be, I think they would fit well. I really honestly think that they would fit well in the conference. I mean,
since you don't want to reform the Big East in football, why not?
Well, I was going to say, if not, go to a conference like that. Go to the Big East or something like that, that you
They'll be independent.
Or they could do that too. Be independent. That way you can build your program a little bit, get a little popularity going, and then say, you know what, we'll go to this conference. Because, again, as we both know, it all comes down to monetary value.
Yeah.
What can bring monetary-wise to the conference? That's why I don't think teams down here like UCF and USF aren't in big conferences, because they don't bring enough monetary value to any of the conferences that are available, because there's no way right now that you could put USF and UCF in the SEC. They would get murdered.
I get it.
They would get murdered. You put them in the ACC, might have a legitimate no, because you still got the Clemsons, the Florida States, the Miamis who could crush them.
North Carolina.
And North Carolina. Oh, yes, because of and UNC.
Oh, wait, you're talking.
Yeah. I'm talking football.
ACC football, yeah, they might have a good chance in football in the AEC.
Yeah.
ACC, rather. Because the ACC is not really a strong conference in football. So they might get a decent job. But then again, those teams play more from the South, and we're not usually the South. So I don't know how that would really, fit geographically.
Correct. Yeah, because then if you put them in basketball, forget about it. Because you have to play against the Dukes and the North Carolinas and the States. Yeah, forget that. Because that's one of the most, if not one of the most powerful conferences in all of college basketball, is the ACC. So, I just, there no doubt about it that they would not play well, very well there in the in that conference. No way. You would that would be a
death trap.
Death trap, exactly. So, and I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they were supposed to join the Big 12. Both UCF and USF were going to be
the
Big 12, and at the last second, the conference changed their mind and said, no, we're not gonna do that. And the problem, that what's holding that conference afloat is Texas and Oklahoma. And if those two ever leave that conference, it's gone, because that's the only two teams in that conference that are holding that conference afloat. Outside of them, who else is there? TCU? No. Kansas, not in football. Kansas State, they have Les Miles. It's going to take him a couple years to get that program back up. Or Les Miles at Kansas. I keep forgetting those mixed up. I think he's at Kansas.
Right.
Still, it's going to take him a while to get that program built up. There just isn't a lot of excitement in the Big 12, even though one of their teams happens to be in the college football playoff and could win a national championship, because I'm not going to take anything away from the Sooners. They could very likely be, they have a shot. They can beat LSU. Anyone can beat anyone on any given Saturday. So there's a shot that they can end up playing Ohio State or even Clemson when it's all said and done. And, who knows? But, I mean, outside of Texas and them, there really isn't – there's nothing to the Big 12. Not anymore.
No.
It may have been at one time, but it's not that way anymore. So I don't think it would have hurt the conference if teams like USF and UCF joined that conference. It wouldn't hurt them. It's not going to hurt them anymore. So, but I think when it comes down to it, Lewis, too, I think they looked at basketball too. Yeah. And I think that may have been the deciding factor that really USF and UCF basketball, would have to travel all the way to Texas, all the way to Oklahoma, to Kansas, all those. And I don't think that you want, that, traveling and all that stuff, I think is too much for these smaller schools' travel budget. It's not like when you have a big school like, Florida or, Ohio State or Michigan. Well, they make their money. They make their revenue because they draw everybody. So they can travel for basketball and stuff like that. They don't have to worry about travel revenue. So that's what kind of, handicaps certain schools, is that it comes down to it all comes down to monetary value. Really, in all reality, it comes down to monetary value. And it's a shame, but that's what sports is based on now, is the ultimate dollar. Who can, what player, there's no loyalty to teams anymore. It's the, you know what? I'm going to go play for whoever's going to give me the most money to play. Speaking of that, what's your take, Lewis, on Madison Bumgarner's new deal with the Diamondbacks? Do you think they overpaid him? Do you think he got more?
I think he overpaid him. His numbers have taken a nosedive in the recent years, so I think he's not worth what they were paying him.
It was 5 years, $75 million. They're paying him $15 million a year.
Yeah, that's too much.
I would have thought maybe 10 at the most with his numbers, because like you said, his numbers are not the same. They're dwindling. They dwindled over the last few years. So I agree with you. I really honestly don't think that they should have paid him, $15 million a year. He's definitely not in the Garrett Cole, Steven Strasburg, elite pitchers like those guys are. And that's funny about Steven Strasburg, who at one time they were going to shut him down because he was pitching too many innings, and they thought that he was done and that he was a bust. And then he comes all the way back now, wins the MVP of the World Series, and gets a big payday and comes back to the team that, he's been with since he got drafted. So it's kind of interesting that maybe he, in a weird way, when he said, no, I'm not going to take my current deal. I want a better deal. I really honestly, Lewis, thought to myself, he's not leaving Washington. They'll work out a contract with him to keep him. I mean, I was really – the one that surprised me the most, and this wasn't this year, it was last year when Bryce Harper left the Nationals. I really honestly thought that they were going to find a way to bring him back. But then again, on the flip side, you just won a World Series without him. So maybe he needed to shut his mouth too and just play baseball and leave it alone and, go, hey, I can win a World Series here. But no, he's with the Phillies, who struggled all year too, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.